everybody, and welcome back to the Apple Box Chronicles. My name is Peyton Buteau.
And I'm Adryon Thomas.
And today on the ABCs, we're taking you from A to Z on Psycho and Dressed to Kill, an Alfred Hitchcock movie and a Brian De Palma movie, on a new segment. What is the segment called?
It's called SPLIT DIOPPELGANGER. I came up with it, and I love it.
I thought I came up with it, and then you latched onto it, and I was like, yeah. But that's stupid. And then you were like, no, that's genius. It's brilliant.
I think... Yeah, I don't remember how we came up with it. Someone said doppelganger.
He fell in love with it,
yeah.
and I was like, I don't know about that. But that's what we're going with.
Because it makes sense.
I mean, yeah, we don't have anything better than that. And you like it. I'm kind of... I think because I came up with it, I was like, no. But it can't be that.
No,
but I put it out there anyway.
SPLIT DIOPPELGANGER, from the name, as you can tell, split diopter is basically a technique in film in which you put half of a lens on another lens so that you could get focus in the foreground as well as focus in the background. And doppelganger obviously is like twins, two people that look alike. And what we're doing is we're going to compare these two films that are pretty much the same, but also not. They pretty much follow the same story or the same type of character arcs, or they have some sort of similarities that are very, very comparable, but they're directed by different directors. They have a different narrative, or something's different about them. Something's in the foreground, something's in the background. It's
basically like... I mean, in this case, and other things that we do for this segment will be more probably, I guess, different and like more of a reach, and like we're trying to kind of make a point with the comparison. With this one, it's like these are literally intentionally the same fucking movie. Like he's trying. De Palma is making Psycho. He's trying to make Psycho.
He's doing his own version of Psycho.
Yeah, he's trying to basically do a modern take on, I guess, Psycho modern when it came out.
Yeah, and I mean, we could have done this with Body Double in Rear Window, or even Body Double in Vertigo.
Because De Palma just copies Hitchcock a lot.
I don't know. Well, yeah, copy. I guess it's more of an homage. He's putting his own flair on.
Yeah, I'm not trying to say that makes it bad. I'm just saying, like, he's not shy about pulling from Hitchcock at all.
Yeah.
A lot of filmmakers aren't, but I think out of all of them, he's the one that's like doing it the most overtly. Like, this is just a Hitchcock.
And I mean, it makes sense. Even Martin, I think it was Martin Scorsese who said that all you need in terms of film school is to watch Hitchcock movies, and then that's all you got. All you got to do.
I mean, really, yeah. I mean, a lot of our favorite filmmakers take from Hitchcock, and Hitchcock is one of my favorites. So
he's extremely influential. There's the amount of movies that wouldn't exist without Hitchcock would be like there would be a completely different like industry.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess we should talk about our experiences with Hitchcock and De Palma. You should. How about you go first?
So Hitchcock, I saw. Let's see. I mean, I always knew about Psycho. I saw it in maybe 2020 when I was really getting the classics under my belt. Saw Rear Window same time, Vertigo around the same time. Saw North by Northwest in the theater when it showed one time. That was like early, like right after we had met. I saw Rear Window again for a class, and that's when I really started to appreciate it, because we were taking a more academic approach to like why that movie is so good. For a while, that was my favorite Hitchcock, and then I saw Rope, and Rope was just so wonderful, and so I was like, that's the best one. And then I rewatched Psycho for this, and I was like, oh wait, comes all the way back around. This is the best one. I've also seen. I'm a huge fan of Shadow of a Doubt, because Shadow of a Doubt is the closest to my favorite movie, Trap. And Trap is like Shadow of a Doubt. It's got a lot of Shadow and a Doubt. It's got some Rope. It's got some Psycho. It's a very much like a Hitchcock blender with like a new, but it's like a new. We're not here to talk about that anyway. Really, like, yeah, I'm super into Hitchcock. I want to like keep watching his movies. I'm always down to watch a new one because they're so exciting. Oh, and Notorious. I love Notorious.
Notorious.
That
is
one's
great.
so
yeah.
good. There's a lot I haven't seen. Rebecca, Dial M for Murder,
ooh.
Strangers on a Train. I want to see those. De Palma, I don't have as much experience with, but I've seen Carrie. I love the first Mission Impossible movie that he directed. I mean, I do just like obsess over kind of his style. Whenever I'm watching his movies, I'm just like, oh man, like it's just so fun. The visuals,
Yeah.
the way he abuses split diopters is just so it's just so wonderful. Like I love whenever a split diopter shot is used. So because he uses them all the time, his movies are just like automatically, I think just visually he's one of my favorite directors because you can always tell it's a De Palma movie. And he's Snake Eyes, so good. Blowout's my favorite. Just overall, really, I liked this movie. This was my first time seeing it. Dressed to Kill. Kind of problematic. We'll get into it. But I do just love the form that he's playing with. So yeah, I like these guys. Hitchcock, obviously, more my style, but I like these guys.
I'm a bit of the opposite. I mean, I have a lot of respect for Hitchcock for sure, but I don't know, some of his stuff, at least for me, haven't exactly held up. I mean, there are the classics like Psycho, which is like it's a classic. Like I love Psycho. Psycho is great. Like North by Northwest, Rear Window, all of his big stuff are pretty obvious. Like yes, but I don't know. So I wasn't always like the biggest fan of Hitchcock. It did take me a lot of times to rewatch a lot of his movies for me to truly appreciate them. But then there are other times where I'm just like, no matter how many times I watch this movie, I just don't really vibe that much with it. For instance, like Vertigo. I understand why people love it. I think it is his best looking film, and in terms of his collaboration with Bernard Herrmann for the score. That's the best, I think, film score collaboration that they did. But I don't know, the story, I can't, it never meshes well. I think once they hit the halfway point in that movie, once you get that dream sequence, everything afterwards just kind of falls apart for me. And that's not the case for a lot of his movies, but it's a special case with that movie because I've rewatched that movie so many times just to be like, this is the time where it's gonna click for me. This is the time it's gonna click for me. But it never does.
I need to rewatch. I've only seen it once.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, I can't argue really against it because it does look so good and it feels so good, and Jimmy Stewart is great in it, and Kim Novak, and I don't know, I just don't vibe with the latter half of the story with that movie. I don't know, but that being said, I do love Hitchcock. It was obviously like one of those first big filmmakers that you kind of learn about when you start really getting into movies, and you're like, oh, this is one of the big influential ones. He's like with like John Ford in that kind of bracket of most influential filmmakers. And I mean, I respect him a lot, but I just don't like, for instance, Shadow of a Doubt. It's like, yeah, it's directed great and just some pretty good performances. Joseph Cotton's great in it, but for the master of suspense, it wasn't very suspenseful for me.
I just thought Shadow of a Doubt.
The same with Rope. It's like I
thought Rope was a
I get
puncher.
what you're going, and it's like there's some comedic elements to it.
It's
and I
the
like
gayest movie ever.
It's very campy in that way, and the
it's
idea,
like actually queer.
Okay.
I
know, but the idea of like him like trying to do it all in one shot, well, make it look like it's like very admirable. I love that he's like experimenting with it, but I don't know. Sometimes I think I love Hitchcock as a director of the camera and the staging and the production, of how the movie looks and feels. I think what I have problem with is his direction of characters and not exactly the actors, but the characters in his movies. I'm not always fully on board with who they are or what he's trying to go with, and I'm sure that's not the case for everybody. I'm sure there's a lot of people who love strictly just those vibes from his movies. And that's just not for me. Like, and we'll go into it too. Like, even the characters in Psycho, not all of them are the most interesting. But the ones that are really are. And I guess it's the opposite with Brian De Palma, where the thing about Brian De Palma movies is that they're so eccentric in every facet of what he's doing. Like the characters, like when I think canonically in my life, the first De Palma film that I watched, whether I knew who he was or not, was I think Scarface.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that too. And I'm not like in love with it, but I like it.
I love Scarface. I think it's such like this 80s coked up, insane stylistic film that just you're not going to get really from any other director or any other time or period. It's kind of a capsule of like what it's really trying to do, and it's a remake of the Howard Hawks movie, and but it's so different, and it's written by Oliver Stone, and it's crazy. And I even to this day, every once in a while, forget that he's the director of that, because for somehow
I literally forgot.
Yeah, somehow he's able to incorporate everything that makes him him, and all of the flourishes of his the camera work that he does, and the editing and all that, and still be very different. Like even Mission Impossible, the first Mission Impossible, when I first saw that, again, didn't connect that it was a Brian De Palma movie until like later down the line, where it's like, oh, I understand how this is a Brian De Palma movie, but I didn't really understand that when I first saw it, because it felt like a Mission Impossible movie. And I just think he's very stylish and very showy with what he's doing in his films, but sometimes it's so here or there with how much he does it. It really blends in with whatever the type of story he's doing. So even though Scarface and Mission Impossible and Carrie all feel very different with the type of stories they are, they also feel very much like Brian De Palma. And that's why even people like Pauline Kael was such a big fan of him and the ideas of the auteur theory, that, you know, he has a very distinct style and take on what he wants to do with the films that he's doing, but he doesn't sacrifice the story and the characters and the type of film that he's making for those like personal stylistic flourishes in his film. And I think that's what's the most interesting to me, because I don't feel that Hitchcock does that. I think Hitchcock always makes a Hitchcock film. And De Palma, even though he's always making a De Palma film, it doesn't always feel like he's making a De Palma film. Like the way he blends it is like very, very unique to me.
I mean, yeah, he's definitely better at being a chameleon, kind of homaging a bunch of other things.
Yeah,
like,
it's weird because it's very noticeable when you notice it.
Hitchcock is more of a pioneer,
but if you're not aware, you don't notice it.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
But De Palma, I think, is more, I guess,
well,
he's definitely got his own flair to it, but I feel like he is a little more like of a student. He's like, I want to incorporate all these things that I've learned from these other people.
Yeah, and I think that's what most filmmakers should be. Or
I'm sure Hitchcock is doing that too. It's just you have to go back. Like,
I mean, there was very little to work upon.
Yeah. There's something. There's probably something, but it's like.
But that's the
he's
thing.
He's a pioneer. He's like
he's one of the greats who really started off like in the silent era and like worked their way through talkies, and then even more. They developed the form. They created the form in which movies are made today, and that's what we're basing everything that we do is off of people like Hitchcock and John Ford, and even filmmakers that we don't even like to credit because of how controversial they are, like D.W. Griffith.
I was going to say that.
And but they created the form, and that's what we use off of. And because Hitchcock is so early, his stuff could almost seem cliche in a way, because that's the template, the OG template. And I'm trying not to put any fault onto that, because obviously when I'm trying to look at movies today, I'm trying to see something I haven't seen before. And the thing about me is it's always like whether or not a movie is going to entertain me or not, or if it's going to do something different that I haven't seen or not. And when I watch movies from the past, I have to kind of like rewire how I'm watching it. It's like, what are they doing here that was probably different in their time? What are they doing that's moving the medium for when they were making it? And were they creating the cliches, or were they subverting it? And I think Hitchcock, for his time, he was creating the cliches, and so they feel very cliche in a certain way. But I can't fault it for that, because like that, if anything, that's like the most OG thing you could do is create the trend. And that's why I respect Hitchcock a lot. I know it sounds like I'm kind of like talking him down, like he doesn't know. No, he's a master of what he does, and he is a brilliant director. Like, Rebecca is amazing. Like, can't wait until you watch that one. But like the majority of his films are truly like him, like toning in and like really narrowing down like how he could like direct a film with enough detail and yet be as efficient as possible too. But yeah, we're gonna talk about these two films and kind of compare and contrast, see what Brian De Palma has learned from Hitchcock, and what he kind of does a little bit different with Dressed to Kill.
Yes. So, should we just get into it?
I guess so.
Okay. So, what makes these movies so similar is we have a main character, a woman, who we follow for a decent chunk of the movie, and then she dies early on in a very unexpected way.
You have kind of like that midpoint twist.
Yeah. I think in Dressed to Kill it comes a little earlier.
Yeah, just a bit earlier. Like maybe 40-something minutes in.
Yes, and for Psycho, this is like completely unexpected I imagine, for everyone seeing it when it came out. It's like, what? Like, that's not allowed. You can't do that.
Yeah.
Whereas in Dressed to Kill, it's like, oh, he's doing Psycho.
Yeah.
So that's like kind of the different feelings you get. I guess there could be a child that is raised that never sees a Hitchcock movie and only watches like just just some very cliche films, and then just watches Dressed to Kill and is like, whoa, I've never seen that, but it's like it comes from Psycho. So that's
and I mean, to be honest, when I first saw Dressed to Kill, I had no idea. I was getting into De Palma, and it was a blind buy from Criterion, and I got it with Blow Up, because I was like, I really want to get more into Brian De Palma now. And so I just kind of put in Dressed to Kill, and it was shocking. It was like, holy shit, I thought she was the main character.
And now you're like, oh, it's Psycho.
Yeah. And then it took like maybe another viewing or two for it to just be like, oh yeah, obviously, why didn't I think of that?
Yeah.
Idiot.
So,
so I mean, I can't really blame anybody for not like immediately like seeing the two.
But if you're tuned into that stuff,
then
it's obvious. It's like you said. It's like if you know, then it's obvious. If you don't, it's not.
Yeah.
And also the killer that murders her is a man dressed as a woman in both films, technically speaking.
Yes.
In Dressed to Kill, there's some some problematic elements to that we will get into. I mean, you could even leverage some heavy criticism against Psycho for the same things.
Yeah.
I do think that I do agree that there's a lot more like on Dress to Kill. It's like a lot worse for certain reasons, but I also think that with time, you could maybe see Dress to Kill becoming a little more accepted, the way that Psycho is. Not to that level, of course, because Psycho is just so significant. But I don't know. I still really liked the movie, but and enjoyed myself with it. But it's like, it's a little weird. It's a little weird what you're doing. And so I respect anyone who just hates this movie for that. I can totally understand. Especially if they're like part of the trans community. It's like, it's there. Also in both films we get like pretty lengthy sequences and montages with no dialogue or little to no dialogue. I recall in Dress to Kill there's a great scene at the beginning in a museum that is so funny. Like, it's so fucking hilarious.
Yeah, there's no dialogue. You're just kind of with the Angie Dickinson character, and she's just at a museum, and she's like writing down like I think notes and stuff. But then she sees a dude that might be she might be into him. He might be into her. Who knows? And it's kind of a back and forth, and we don't know what's going on. She's losing her stuff.
Yeah, she it's like her glove or something.
Her glove.
And then he's trailing her with it, and like they just have this like very flirtatious like encounter in the museum. They walk all around. It's so funny and kind of awkward.
Yeah.
And then they get into a cab together, and they just have sex in the cab. Like they start.
Well, they start, yeah.
And then the next day, I think she learns, or she finds a letter.
Right as she wakes up, well, I guess they're finished, and she's like trying to go back home. She's trying to write a letter to him saying, "Oh, it was a good time," but then she finds out that the guy has like some kind of venereal disease.
It's like an STD, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, oh my god.
It's like, I made the worst decision. This affair was such a bad idea, and it is kind of funny in a way, because it's like, of course this would happen.
Well, what I kind of like about it is that's kind of the money.
Yeah.
In Psycho, it's like Marion Crane has this large sum of money that she's transporting, and it's like, it's this thing of tension, and she's having these encounters with the cops, and she's, having to lie her way out of situations before she stumbles upon Bates Motel. And so it's like,
she has, well, the thing is, she has these like situations in her head where you hear the characters talking. It's like, well, I saw her. She's kind of thinking about the situation.
She's
like, how's it going to look?
Scenarios.
Yeah, how's it going to look on her end? Should she be doing this? Shouldn't she be doing this? She's having a lot of doubt on whether she's able to take the money. I mean, by the end, she's just like, you know what? I should just take it back.
Yeah, she's like, driving for a long time, so she's just kind of isolated. There's also, another scene in Psycho that's kind of like little to no dialogue is when Norman Bates is getting rid of her body in the car. And so what I'm saying is that, like, the money is this big source of drama for the first half or first third of the film.
The MacGuffin.
And then it completely gets disregarded. It just gets buried in the car with into like the swamp or whatever.
Yeah.
And in this film, in Dress to Kill, it's kind of like you're so invested now because there's like this very flirtatious kind of steamy scene, and you get all this drama, and then you get the reveal that she got an STD from the guy, and it's like, how are you going to deal with this? Like, it's very dramatic, and then she just dies.
Yeah.
And,
well, I honestly don't know how they marketed this film. I probably maybe have seen a trailer, but I don't remember. But I'm curious if whether or not they kind of marketed the film as her death, or if they also tried to keep that a secret and play it off kind of like Psycho. Because going in, if you didn't know, then you're kind of wondering, like, what what is the point, what is happening, why is this I guess a suspenseful thriller movie. You're kind of like all over the place. Who's going to be the killer? What's going to happen? And it just kind of happens almost randomly. When she gets in the elevator and she gets cut up, you're like, who is this person? And why did she just die?
And I guess that's another thing that's very similar. The elevator is kind of like the shower.
Yeah.
There's the door, there's the curtain. It's kind of like a similar contained space. And so that kind of shocking moment happens in a similar way in both movies.
And the great thing about the Dress to Kill is that there's a lot of foreshadowing about who's stalking her and the characters in the background. And if you watch it for the first time, you will probably not see any of it. It's like such a background thing that's like so fast and so quick you probably wouldn't recognize it. But on a rewatch, you see the killer in the background in Dress to Kill like quite a bit. But because if you watch it for the first time, you don't know who that is or who it is. It's just kind of there, and you're like, oh, you're just kind of unaware. But he does a lot of great foreshadowing in that movie, which I just love to see.
Yeah. And we also have a lot of like mirrors and reflections as a motif in both films. I think for Dress to Kill, it's
very obvious.
It's more obvious. It's like it's like a character trait almost. Yeah. Like he Michael Caine's character, who plays the I guess the killer in the movie, is always looking at his reflection. I think it's when he's feeling attracted to someone. Yes. Is that right?
Yeah. Okay. Whenever. So I guess the trigger for his character to kind of switch over into the killer character, I guess, is whenever he feels attraction to someone or a patient or anything, and it's weird because the psychology doesn't exactly make a lot of sense, and it villainizes people who are trans or maybe have certain like gender dysmorphia or
gender dysphoria. Yeah, dysphoria, so it's like it's tying together. Well, we should probably mention how it's almost the same in Psycho.
Yeah.
Is that Norman Bates? His mother is dead, but his mother was so, I guess,
traumatic. Well,
he has so much trauma from that he knows his mother won't want him to like love another woman, and so when he feels attracted to Marion or someone else, he has to kill them. He like switches into mother mode, and mother takes her away. Yeah. And takes her out. And so in that, it kind of makes more sense because it's like it's parental trauma. It's like it's a very specific trauma to him.
Yeah.
Whereas in this movie, it's like it's saying like, oh, like you're you're attracted to this woman. That's not who you're supposed to be. Like we're gonna kill her. And it's like, well, your gender identity and gender dysphoria is not necessarily tied to your sexuality. Yeah. Who you're attracted to and how you identify under gender is like they're different things. Yeah. They can work. Like you could still be attracted to women and be a trans woman at the same time.
And that's kind of why I think the movie isn't necessarily saying that, because I think that it's kind of showing that there's a problem with the character because of his feelings for that. Because even in the movie, you see like this interview with another trans person, and they're asking them questions throughout, and you see a lot of like split screen and a lot of like full screen. Like the way he does the split screen on his films are always fantastic and great. But there is a sequence in which you're listening to this interview with this trans person, and at the very end of the interview, they're talking about, are you still sexually attracted to women? And they're like, yes, very much so. So they may be trans, a trans woman, but they're still attracted to women as well, and that's okay. that's the issue with the Michael Caine characters, that he feels like that shouldn't be okay. In a sense,
I feel like it is at best slightly underexplored in
yes,
terms of that character's psychology,
yeah,
and at worst kind of offensive. Like I again, I don't think the movie's intentionally
yeah.
trying to be problematic, but it kind of just is.
There's just the
You know?
stigma, I think, around it. Like, I think Psycho didn't do any better in enforcing or not enforcing that stigma, because like you see this all over movies, like even in fantastic great movies like Silence of the Lambs, the same thing. But and even they even say it in the movie. They're like, the people in the trans community, they're very like sympathetic, pacifist, like docile kind of people. They're usually never violent, but this is a different scenario, and they kind of call that out. Because I think even when Silence of the Lambs came out, people were becoming a little bit more accepting, and they just wanted to make it clear that this is not a statement against trans people. This is, I guess, this is a different scenario. But even putting that in doesn't excuse the fact that you're still making a story that villainizes someone who has some sort of gender, sexual, like issues or problems that aren't true to reality most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I mean, that's also kind of the reason why I think it's important for us to talk about this, because even though I think both of these movies are really great, I think they're stylistically and even narratively they're extremely influential and interesting, and I think
Very entertaining.
very entertaining. I think there's still reason and need to talk about how certain people are represented on the screen.
Yeah.
And I think now we could kind of go into like what makes them different.
Yeah, we kind of touched on a little bit of it, but you mentioned form just now, and we kind of agreed that De Palma is way more stylized and kind of in your face with it.
Yeah.
Whereas Hitchcock is more economical. But I also think about those split screen scenes and everything in this movie that are extremely dense with information. In a short amount of time.
I kind of went over the mirror and reflection stuff. Like the reflection stuff that's happening in Psycho is so,
it's all subtextual.
It's so great. Like anybody watching it for the first time could easily like look over it and not realize
easily.
it.
Yeah. So basically, it's like, if you don't know, because I think there are people who have seen Psycho who don't know this, is that there's a lot of sequences where Norman and Marion are talking, and dependent on how the blocking is, they have a reflection on a surface behind them, and whoever is shown in the reflection is meant to illustrate that they are living a double life in that moment. They're portraying a version of themselves that's not true. Or covering something up, and so it's like when she's trying to hide the money, there's reflections for her, and then when he's talking about his mother or something like that, there's a reflection on him. So
it's brilliant.
Very, very brilliantly done. And gotta mention the fact that M. Night Shyamalan used the dressing room mirror in Trap to do the same thing between two performative characters that perform very differently. That movie's a lot like Psycho 2. So,
but I think just the fact that Hitchcock was able to incorporate that into his films, really back in a time where people weren't necessarily even like digging for such like meaty substance in films, is quite extraordinary. Like he really, like, he knew what he was doing, and it's incredible. It's really like a genius move on his part on how he's able to block and kind of show the inner psychology of characters just through like visual information. And that's why also why the Norman Bates character is so interesting as well, because the way he's being directed and the way we're shooting that character, like when he's interacting with like Arbogast, the guy, and he's like looking through the paper, and like there's that one scene where he's like looking over his shoulder and you're like right underneath him, and he's so creepy, like the way he's like chilling
the way he's like kind of looking over.
Yeah, and the visual language of like making that uncomfortableness in it, like he was so above everybody else in certain aspects of the way you shoot characters, not just the landscape. Because I think, you know, if we're talking about shooting landscape and all that, it would be like John Ford. But Hitchcock was
it's character blocking. He's like just expert at that, like communicating subtext and relationships and all of those things.
Yeah.
Just so like in a way that's like invisible and at the time that a lot of people weren't doing.
Yeah, it's really truly brilliant filmmaking on his part.
Oh, so we both agree about this. I think Psycho is one of like the best directed movies. Like
it's
period.
So good, yeah.
Like it's the way that every performance is directed and every I guess all the sequencing is just perfect. It's really one of those. The audience, like
it's one of those defining films that really changed filmmaking. Like that's the movie that showed a toilet being flushed for the first time, like in a bathroom.
That's true.
Like who would have thought?
Yeah.
And it's breaking so many narratives that like has never happened, like killing off your main character and dealing with like serial killers. Like it's such a brutal like concept that people just were not used to. Sure, there have been movies in the past that have kind of touched bases on like the idea of there being serial killers out in the world, but it wasn't so intimate and it wasn't so upfront with who the real serial killer was, even though when you first watch it you don't know that Norman Bates is the so-called psycho. But it was just so brand new, and like you would not get such classics like any of the slasher horrors of today, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. You wouldn't get movies like police procedurals like Seven, or just a whole genres of movies were created just based on the fact that Psycho exists. It's incredible.
Yeah.
He really broke ground with that movie. And I mean, he didn't even have to shoot it in black and white. That was an economical thing because there was color movies back then.
Well, also because the blood was used but with chocolate syrup.
Yeah, it's hard to shoot a movie that's so violent, even though there's not a lot of violence on screen. The ideas and the subject matter is very violent, and even in color it would be a bit too real for those people the 50s.
I feel like Psycho is like I think it also has to be like moody.
Yeah.
Like I do think
the black and white works.
I do think that if Psycho was in color, it would lose.
It would lose something.
Yeah, like it because if you think about Hitchcock's color films, like at that time, like the colors were bright and vibrant.
Yeah,
and,
a lot of like great Technicolor.
I just don't see Psycho working like that. I feel like it was a great decision to put it in black and white, especially like I said, like they could use whatever color thing they needed for the blood to make it look as good as possible. Yeah. So there's plenty of reasons to shoot black and white
and
back then as well.
Then, you know, Dressed to Kill is the complete opposite. It's so colorful and like it's red.
Very vibrant.
It's it's like it has that giallo like feeling to it where the blood almost has like a matte paint kind of feel to it. And
it's trying to be
very stylized.
It's almost melodramatic
and the music feels very like Italian. And like it really has that giallo feel to it, which is more of an homage to like those Italian films of the 70s, those horror, if you don't know, movies like Suspiria, films directed by like Dario Argento.
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, Dress to Kill, just the way it is, that it showcases its visual style is just so much more different. And I think Brian De Palma is just the best when it comes to that, at least. Just that visual style. Because, and so I don't remember where I heard this, but someone said that he is basically like a technical genius, but in terms of like the stories he's telling, they're always like these like sleazy, kind of almost lowbrow sleaziness, that he's really into. A lot of violence and sex and just kind of seedy kind of stuff going on,
a little edgy,
but he has that like kind of genius technical expertise, and the vibes they wouldn't necessarily work, but because he is him and he needs it to work in that certain way, that's what makes his films so interesting.
Well, it's almost like a really brilliant like juxtaposition.
Yeah. Like look at any of his films. Like they are so expertly crafted, and yet they talk upon some of the most taboo subject matters. Like even like movies like this, movies like Blowout, and political conspiracies, and movies like Carrie, which is like school like bullying and like domestic abuse, things of that sort. It's like he tackles all these really really hard to tackle subject matters, but he does it in such a beautiful and stylistic, detailed way that just makes it so all the more interesting and to watch and to take in.
I agree. I guess that also kind of like segues us. We talked about this a little bit just now, but style versus substance, because a lot of people say style over substance. De Palma, style over substance, or any new movie, style over substance. Emerald Fennel movies, style over substance. And it's like, okay, sure, I get what people are trying to say with that. What they're trying to say is, I liked the form and the visuals. I liked it technically.
Yeah.
But I didn't connect to the story. I didn't like the story.
Yeah.
That's fine. But like a lot of the time,
the style is the
substance. I also think the movie, like a movie, is not meant to be like, you're not meant to just extract like one element and be like, well, this doesn't work on its own, so it's bad. It's like everything kind of has to play together and become greater than the sum of its parts.
Yeah.
And I know there's a lot of movies that fail at that, but I do think that complaint is misused and thrown around constantly in ways that it's like, well, no, the style is the substance.
The more I grow older, I think the comparisons to film and like paintings or drawings or like art that you would see in a museum it's like the same thing. You got to look at it the same way you would art in a museum. You look at Picasso, and the reason why he's so great, or why a lot of people love his stuff, is the style, and the style is his substance, is the cubism, and like all like what he's trying to do with the form is just at the time was so different and so expansive of what you could visually portray something in such a weird and interesting way. And you got to look at movies the same way. It's not always what you see at face value. It's like, how is this changing the medium? What is being done that's different from everybody else? And what makes their voice heard and seen compared to everybody else? Like, there's nobody else like Brian De Palma. Really?
Yeah. And, well, okay. I think what you're saying about paintings, perfect. I've been wanting to tell this on the podcast in some way. So, my girlfriend is a art history graduate, and so she took me to a lot of these, like, discussions at this art gallery locally that, like, we would just talk about paintings. And I wouldn't really participate too much because I'm not, like, I'm not educated in art history a lot, but I would just watch these like PhD candidates and like art history students just talk about these paintings for like,
Yeah.
and all of them, like every painting that they would show and they would talk about, they're all like so curious about it. They're all like, oh, well, this doesn't work. This doesn't like match the rest of the painting. Like, why is that figure wearing an outfit that's of this culture when everything else kind of signifies this? Like, but everything they're asking, or why is there a chicken there? I don't know. Everything they're asking, that was one of them. Everything they're asking is like very curious. It's not to be like scolding the artist for like, oh, they don't understand what they're working with. They don't understand that doesn't fit there, or that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, all they're doing is they're saying, what is the artist trying to communicate by throwing me off like this?
Yeah.
By making this feel this certain way. And you know what? Let's bring this up because we were talking about this last night. I think a lot of people are not doing that with a lot of movies today, but we brought up like Licorice Pizza in our kitchen last night.
Yeah.
I think this is a pretty decent example because you were saying how like the movie, yes, it has some very taboo subject matter. It has some very messed up shit in it. There, obviously the central relationship is between a 15-year-old and a 25-year-old.
Yeah.
Hanging out the whole movie, and there's some tension there. And you have like incredibly racist characters in the movie doing comically racist things.
Yeah.
And it's all this stuff that people say, oh, the movie's problematic and the movie has issues. And I'm not trying to invalidate anybody that feels that way, but I am going to say, like, I think the intention behind the movie, and as you said, is it's showing you how a lot of nostalgic things, like in the 70s and all these things that we think back on with rose-colored glasses, we're like, oh, but that was so messed up.
Yeah.
You have this 15-year-old like running several businesses, and you have, the gas shortage, and like you have all these, all these people are just going around being openly racist, and nobody, not being held accountable. It's like all these things were so messed up. And they really were. That was really the case for a lot of people. Like these people kind of existed.
Yeah.
But we think back and we're like, oh, those were the good old days.
Yeah.
And I think the title, Licorice Pizza, is referring to a record store, obviously, and that's what records are called. Licorice pizzas. You can call them that.
Yeah.
But it also is just like something that sounds gross. So it's like, this is nostalgic, but it kind of sounds like, if you take it on face value, it kind of sounds gross.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm not trying to steal your thunder because like you were the one explaining this.
Yeah.
But it's like, why is the movie about a 15-year-old and a 25-year-old?
Yeah.
If it's in the movie is so kind of bright and wonderful feeling.
Yeah.
Like you kind of have the tone is like upbeat, and it's like a hangout movie, and it's like super exciting. Why is it like that if it has this dark stuff going on? Okay, well, what's it trying to say about how we view the era in which this dark stuff was actually taking place?
Yeah.
And so that's what I don't understand with people sometimes with movies is they see it. They see the point of the movie and they say they didn't mean to do that, so it's terrible.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Dressed to Kill is the same way, but I think that happens a lot with the style over substance complaint. It's this idea that, I don't know, that things aren't meant to work together to create that kind of contrast, and to kind of, some things are supposed to make you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I think that's why this kind of stigma of using the cross-dresser or the trans person as like this psychological like psycho person is because of the uncomfortableness of that that idea of not being in the right body and feeling like you're a different gender, and to some people it's very uncomfortable, and I think the problem is the fact that these movies kind of just villainize those people instead of trying to understand them, understand why they would be they would feel that way. But I also don't feel like these movies, in the time period, and I'm not trying to excuse them because they're quite old. Dress to Kill came out in the early 80s.
I think so.
I believe so, and they just they had a different view on these on this at the time taboo subject matter, and they're really just trying to explore any which way that could be taken as something to work off of. And I feel, well, obviously nowadays I don't think anybody's gonna really follow that same kind of logic, because it's people are people. We've kind of come to the understanding that, you know, whether or not people do what they do, we have no control over it, and so we have to be more accepting of people, because if not, we're just going to divide ourselves for no reason, for reasons that don't relate to like just being, for instance, there's no reason to be homophobic, because it has nothing to do with you. If someone likes someone else, what does that have to do with you? It's the same with people who are trans, people who are immigrants, people who are not the same race as you. It's like, it has nothing to do with you. They just want to exist too. Why are we going to try to stop their existence? Why are we trying to like rule over them and be like, no, you can't do that? You become the oppressor. You become the op. Like, you become the bad guy. And that's just kind of the unfortunate viewpoint of which movies like these kind of come at. And I think there's a big change in movies recently, where we're seeing a big switch off, and we're becoming way more accepting of
the messaging
people.
is becoming more critical of that, which is good. It's almost, I mean, I'm not saying these movies positively contribute to, I mean, Psycho definitely positively contributes to film as a whole, like as an influential piece, but I do think it is good to, like you were saying earlier, it is good to talk about these movies and to talk about, like, Dress to Kill. It's like, you know, we can talk about what it gets wrong and what it gets right in sort of, you know, now that we're 40 plus years after the release of the movie, we're kind of able to, I guess, look back on it and be like, well, you know, I get it. It can be, you can see that room for improvement in the way that it's trying to portray these things, like, and so it sucks when a movie comes out that feels like it's taken a step back, like it's kind of more, like it's more in line with something that's quite old and kind of, it's like, come on, we're here now, we're in this year, and you're still doing this, and it kind of is disheartening to see that. If Dress to Kill were to come out now, I'd be like, that's insane. What are you guys doing? You know? Not to say that I hate the movie. I do really like the movie for a lot of reasons, but I can't. There's some undeniable problems.
But I guess we should also talk a bit more about, like, some of the differences as well, where in terms of, like, characters, like I was saying in the beginning with Hitchcock, I'm not always the biggest fan of how he maybe chooses characters or, like, represents them, or like, I don't know. I just don't find his characters always to be the most interesting. But in Psycho, Norman Bates, obviously one of the most interesting characters in the film, if not the most interesting.
Might be the best Hitchcock character, to be honest.
One
of my favorite characters.
Obviously is multi-dimensional in her thought process of whether or not she should steal the money or not. And then I think there's the third most interesting character to me is the Arbogast PI character, because
I would agree.
He's just interesting in the way that he's really trying to tackle, trying to flip up Norman Bates and giving him the information.
Yeah.
But honestly, every other character is kind of boring to me. Like, they don't really do much. They just kind of figure out information, and they're like, well, we gotta stop this guy.
They do their job. They do what they're supposed to do. Like, that is kind of a lot of... There is a lot of supporting Hitchcock characters that are not, like... You would not follow a whole movie with those guys, because they're... Like, in Shadow of a Doubt, you have Joseph Cotten, you have his niece... And you have that little kid who is super great in Shadow of a Doubt. She is, like, incredibly funny, and I like her a lot. But then the rest of the family is just kind of this, like, upbeat, like, aloof kind of, characters that don't, that don't want to, and the detectives are kind of interesting in that one. But anyway, the point is, some of the supporting characters are just they're kind of like... And maybe it's intentional. They're kind of like these very surface level characters, I want to say. Kind of just people you'd expect to be in these situations. They're very kind of... I don't know how to explain this. They're kind of... I don't want to say NPCs, but they're not NPCs. They don't act like NPCs, but I'm just saying they're like this is the boyfriend.
They're like filler characters.
They're a little bit archetypal and in that way. But I think maybe that is kind of what he's trying to do. Is he's trying to take something very natural, like very like, I guess you could say common society, and then just throw something twisted and dark into it, and show the underbelly and how these characters are struck with it. And a lot of them remain kind of aloof to it until it really hits them in the face. So like in Shadow of a Doubt, like the family is so like bubbly and happy, and like, but they have no idea what's going on with Joseph Cotten. It's only the niece that's like, wait, something's up with my uncle, so in Psycho you have all these kind of side characters that they're discovering this like this incredibly crazy thing. And so maybe that's what Hitchcock is really trying to do. Is he's trying to take kind of the common folk and show them something they've never fucking seen before. Be like, actually, the world is a fucked up place, guys.
I forgot to mention I think they're the psychologist at the end who's just explaining the entire thing to everybody. The way he just explains it is so funny.
His line reads are great. Yes. And no. He's awesome.
He's really... It's really funny how he just two meetings with this person, and they just know everything about him. And they're just explaining the entire thing. Which just wouldn't work today, because everybody would just be like, that's just exposition, like exposition all the way. But with that movie, it kind of makes more sense, because people are just so like that stuff they would never assume. They have like people watching that movie back in like what, 1960 something, 16.
I think it's 1960 flat.
Modern day audiences don't know anything about like the psychology of serial killers and whatnot, so they have to kind of be explained, like, this is what's going on.
Maybe all the side characters are just people in the 50s and 60s. They're like, these are you guys, and
But the difference between Psycho and Dress to Kill is that every character in Dress to Kill is so interesting to me.
Well, that's because I think De Palma is sleazier. He's making everyone's kind of flawed and has very,
they're all fleshed out in like several, like
there's unfavorable aspects to every character in the movie, and there's also just very like different things about them. Like you have this kid who's just a fucking genius. Nancy Allen's character is a prostitute. They all have they're characters you don't see every day. They're people you don't see every day, and you get to kind of follow along with them. I forgot his name, but the detective, the cop. Yeah, the detective. He's a son of a bitch, but he's so great. He is a little kind of like stereotypical mean cop, but like in a very fun way.
Yeah, he's like every time he's talking on screen, I'm just like, I'm eating it up. He's so fun to listen to, and that's the thing. I just think De Palma is just all these characters. They have to be interesting, or else what's the point of putting them on screen? obviously in some movies that, like for instance in Psycho, you need the characters to be like, you need the boyfriend to be like, what's happened to Marion? I need to figure it out. Like, you need that character, but I don't think that he really, like, character wise, they don't really have much more than that. It's like they're not injecting any like interesting attributes to that character, which they probably could have. I don't know why they didn't, but it could also just be more of an efficient thing, and being like, we got to get the story going. We can't spend too much time on like too many of these characters, but De Palma does it so well, and all of his films. I don't know of a single movie that I've seen in which I was like, these people are boring, or I'm watching something boring. De Palma's never boring. That's the thing. Even if he doesn't land in any film that I've seen, it's always at least interesting to see what he's doing.
Okay, I just had an epiphany, and now I have to say this because I want to say it while it's on my mind. You're saying about Hitchcock's characters being very kind of one note in the supporting roles, and I was saying how, you know, they're getting shown these awful things, and that's kind of like the contrast is interesting. And now understand, I think that's why Shyamalan loves Hitchcock, to a degree, because I think to him it is about like nuclear families being challenged with this like all you know, paranormal, supernatural, or very dark thing going on. But I think what he does is he's trying to make it, he's more playful with them, so he lets them have that like this kind of goofy, like almost comical dialogue style in some of the movies where you know, these they're struggling to uphold the, I guess, the norm of what they're used to, and so it kind of makes them look ridiculous. You know, I think about like The Happening, but also in Trap, his most Hitchcockian movie, in my opinion, it's this nuclear family that's like, there's something in the house that they don't even know about, and you kind of see how they really try to like hold their, especially the Alison Pill character, like hold that smile up as long as she can to kind of keep it, you know, you got to uphold the look and the appearance of being a family man and all this stuff, and like there's just so much. I think that's just so Hitchcock is like, and I think that's why in M. Night movies the most natural sounding characters and like most like, oh, I've seen that person in real life, are the kids, because they have not yet been exposed to this is how you're supposed to act kind of thing. Like they're very open and natural. Like that's why in Trap they say everyone talks like an NPC except for Riley. Yeah. Riley is like a very believable young girl in that movie, and so that's my belief. I always have to put it in. In every episode. But I had that strike me just now as we were talking about Hitchcock, and I feel like if I didn't mention it, I would regret it.
Yeah. And well, I think another thing I wanted to talk about was the ending of Dressed to Kill as opposed to the ending of Psycho. De Palma always has to have those like that psych gotcha moment. With his endings, he kind of does the same thing in Carrie.
He almost does it in Blowout. It is sort of like this in Blowout, but it's far darker.
Yeah, but obviously there's like another sequence in which the Michael Caine character gets out and is like trying to kill the Nancy Allen character in the shower. Again, another reference to Psycho. Also, the beginning of the movie of Dressed to Kill starts off in the shower, where Angie Dickinson is just having this sensual shower moment.
That's when I was like, this movie is good.
Yeah, they had a body double in it. It's funny because he would have another movie called Body Double. But yeah, there's that sequence at the end where there's another like, oh no, she's gonna get killed by Psycho. And it turns out to be a dream sequence.
Yeah.
And he does the same thing in Carrie. It's like she has a dream sequence. She wakes up. She's screaming, oh, no. And you just kind of see those in his movies several times where it's like he'll have that kind of that moment of where you think something's going to happen. And then at the very end of the movie, it's like, oh, no, that's different. That he psyched me out. And I think that's just another like stylistic flourish that Brian De Palma is kind of known for, and part of his little auteurness to him. Where Hitchcock always ends on that very abrupt, almost like, yeah, this is the end.
His stories end when the story ends. Like
there's not
Hitchcock's
too much of a resolution. It's more about just
I honestly think that Psycho has more of an epilogue than most Hitchcock movies. You have that nice explanation at the end, and then just the great iconic ending with Norman Bates in the cell, and then it ends on like the car getting tugged out of the water, or the mud or whatever.
But most of his other movies, it just kind of ends on whatever happens at the big climax. It's just like after that, maybe one other scene, and then it ends.
Yeah, or it's like in North by Northwest, it's so abrupt.
Yeah, it's like he's
picks her up from the ledge, and then it cuts to them in the train.
And then they have the train going into the mountain, kind of symbolizing that they're together now.
It's like you kind of just get like this nice like, oh, so that's what the story's been about the whole time. Like at the end, it's like, oh, it's these two people coming together. That's the point. Cool.
Well, I think it's just funny because it's an obvious sexual joke.
Oh well, sure.
Yeah. And I think that's also where Brian De Palma gets his kind of his sleaziness from. Hitchcock was very like double entendre kind of.
Well, yeah, he was doing
innuendo.
He
stuff.
was doing a lot of like what is it, euphemisms?
Yeah.
In a time where you really couldn't have a lot of explicit stuff like that in films, he was finding smart ways around it. He did like the talk kissing thing. Yeah. You couldn't have characters kiss for more than a certain amount of time, so you'd have them talk and kiss at the same time to kind of loophole around that. You also have what was I gonna say? There's more.
He just has a lot of visual.
Rope, the whole thing, rope, the whole thing, and the rope is like phallic, and these two guys have this secret, something they did together that they're like, we're different from the rest of the people, and like very like, and that's made during the Hays Code, and he's got this very strong. It's like you just got to know ball to really pick up on. He's like, you guys don't know ball, so.
I think that's always something I loved about Hitchcock, is that he could put his little, like, in a way he's kind of a perv. He kind of puts his like little pervy stuff in it. That's kind of in the background. But to Brian De Palma, it's foreground stuff. It's like, no, I'm gonna be a little sleazeball right now, right here, from the beginning. And I just kind of like that about Brian De Palma. He's not afraid to just be like, it's sex and violence.
He was attuned to Hitchcock's freak side, and he makes that. He lets just that is his whole language. Yeah,
and I think that's why he loves Hitchcock so much, because it's like he knows that he could do Hitchcock, but without the restraint of what Hitchcock was going through.
Yeah,
and that both works, and sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes it kind of falls flat. I think for the most part it works here with Dressed to Kill. I think the only thing with the movie is it's like problematic socio-political messaging of the trans community.
Yeah, and a lot of people that will kill the film for them. Very valid. Doesn't. I mean, I appreciate a lot about it, but obviously I like Psycho better.
Yeah, Psycho is just like a masterpiece above all masterpieces. It's great. Yeah. And Dressed to Kill is just like kind of it's a fun movie. Really stylized movie in De Palma's filmography, but he has better films.
He does have better films.
Like Blowout's so good. I love like Scarface. I know a lot of people don't like Scarface because it's like, if you compare it to something like Godfather, it's like yeah, obviously Godfather's better, but Scarface is not trying to be Godfather.
I think Blowout. I think Mission Impossible.
Mission Impossible, sure, is so great. It's actually, I feel like Mission Impossible is underrated in a lot of sense because as a franchise, it grew, and Tom Cruise would do a lot more crazy, cooler stuff in some of the other movies. But that first Mission Impossible was so ingrained with the ideas of like this espionage, is like him really trying to like heist his way through the CIA, and it's a lot more low key, but also feeling more risky in a sense. I don't know. I just feel like MI1 just doesn't always get the best love.
Yeah, I think Snake Eyes also doesn't.
Snake Eyes, I need to revisit
enough.
Snake Eyes. It's been a hot second, but recently I saw a TikTok of someone talking about Snake Eyes and how it's very relevant today.
There is a even my girlfriend's mom told me about this. She was like, "Have you seen Snake Eyes?"
Really?
And she was like, "Did you hear about what people are saying about Snake Eyes?" I was like, "Yeah, I've seen Snake Eyes." But anyway, yeah, there's some coincidental names and circumstances that match up with a recent event. We will just say that.
Yeah. Which is just kind of crazy, but it's also like one of those situations where I'm like, the government didn't watch Snake Eyes and was like, we're gonna recreate this moment. It's just a coincidence in my eyes. I don't think it's like some kind of crazy conspiracy.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's really all we had for this segment. We just kind of wanted to start off the segment pretty easy. Talk about.
Sorry for bringing up M. Night Shyamalan in this episode. We were talking about Hitchcock, to be fair.
but I mean, we'll have other episodes on with this segment where we'll talk about movies that are very similar to each other, but also very different as well. And we have one coming up that I think is going to be really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we do. We have a couple things planned soon that are really cool. This is also October, so our next episode after this is also going to be spooky, something horror film kind of related. It's almost, I would say next week, if anything, is kind of our Halloween special.
Yeah.
For the week of Halloween, so stay tuned for that. Be sure to check out our recent episodes on One Battle After Another. There's 2 of them.
Yeah. We had to talk about it.
We had to. Wasn't really planned that way initially, but there's 2 of them. So we go really, really deep into that movie if you wanna listen to that. Thank you so much for listening. Let us know your favorite Hitchcock. I think we agree it's Psycho, unless you say North by Northwest.
I've always said that North by Northwest is my favorite. But Psycho's up there. Rebecca's up there. Rear Window's up there.
Yeah, for me.
Ooh, Foreign Correspondent is such a good one. It's on Criterion, but I don't think a lot of people really talk about it.
Yeah, I
haven't
seen that one.
That one, and if you're looking for like a much older Hitchcock but early talkie, The Man Who Knew Too Much, the first one, really good. Has Peter Lorre in it, and it's a lot better than the remake that he did. A lot better than the remake.
I also love Notorious. That's one from the 40s.
Notorious, yes,
highly
great
recommend.
as well. There's a lot of great Hitchcock movies. Just throw one out there and you could be like, yeah, it's great.
And my favorite De Palma is Blowout.
Blowout has always been top for sure, but I mean, again, so many great ones other than the ones we've already talked about, like Scarface, Mission Impossible. But there's also the why am I blanking on this? The Al Capone one. The one with Kevin Costner, The Untouchables. Yeah. So good. So good. So good. And like it always kind of goes a little bit under the radar. One of the best looking sounding films that he's ever done. So good.
I have not seen it.
We got to watch it.
We will.
It's so good.
Okay, well, let us know your favorites from both of those guys. And let us know 2 movies that you find are the same, and maybe we'll do an episode on it.
Ooh, also Carlito's Way.
Okay.
Another great one. Sean Penn is in that one, doing an excellent performance in that one too. I just wanted to mention that. Sorry.
No, that's okay. Let us know 2 movies you think are the same, because then we could steal your idea and make another one of these episodes if it's really good.
Yeah.
So help us out. We'll shout you out. Okay, I think that's it.
Yeah.
Follow us on other platforms. Leave us a comment. Leave us a like. Rate the podcast. I've been Peyton.
And I've been Adryon.
And we'll see you next time on the Apple Box.